In this week's episode of Scotland on a Shoestring, DeNiro and I explore a bit more of Clackmannanshire, Bex and I do a 10k run, and we go looking for more of those little Scottie Dogs. Oh, and there might be the odd tower house and even a cemetery if you're very lucky. So while Bex is off being all athletic, what do you say me and DeNiro go for a wee bit of an explore of the local area? We had a quick sort of wee round on the way in and it does look amazing. It looks really pretty and the sun is shining, although once again it's not awfully warm, but hey ho, let's go and see what we can find. So this, as you can see from the big sign there, is Cochrane Park, and that is where Bexy's running thing is happening. Now I'm not allowed to go and film her because she'd get embarrassed, but she's actually standing over there. One of the people in the silly hat, she'd shout and get her to wave, and then she'd just look mortified and glower at me. Anyway, Bex will be running and we're going exploring. And down there is something that looks like a war memorial, but if that's a war memorial, what is that? Let's go and find out. This is indeed the war memorial with the nice winged cherubby thing going on there, and a plate there with the names of the people from the local area who died. Well, that's one plate. There's one there, and round the back there's one here, and round this side, guess what? Yep, there's more there. That's a lot of men from a fairly small community. It must have really stung for years and years afterwards. Which means, in the interests of research, we've got to go down now and find out what that thing over there is. The little white... You'll see it when we get closer. Okay, it's a fountain. Or it was a fountain. Has it got anything written on it? It has. Alright, yeah, it's an affectionate remembrance of Caroline Elizabeth Mary Johnson of Alva, who died in 1929, erected by the inhabitants of Alva and their other friends in grateful memory of her good works. So, yeah, no idea who she was or what she did, but apparently it was good. We also talk about these little villages being nestled beside hills, but you want to see this. There's literally a little strip of village and then a massive range of hills. It's really smart. You can probably see it behind me there. We're going to go and get the drone and have a better look at that. That's really impressive. And the blue sky and the sunshine helps, obviously. That's quite a nice vista of the war memorial with the hills in the background, and there's me. Hello! But any excuse for another look at those big hills that kind of dominate the place, we're going to head out of town and find somewhere where we can put the drone up for a closer look, or a higher look, or a look. Anyway, a look like you're not looking now. There are some very nice buildings in Alva, as there are with all these little sort of Clackmannanshire and Stirlingshire town. I don't know what it is. Looks like it might have been a church or maybe a school. It's got churchy windows and it's got a bit of a bell thing up there, but yeah, church or school, not sure which. And that's Daisy lowering the tone. We're just heading out of Alva to see what we can find, and the first thing we find is this road sign, and it says Scottie Tower, but at the top it says Tower Trail. I think we might do a little bit of the Tower Trail. I have no idea that exists, but I can guess what it probably is. Okay, we've just driven up the hill to Scottie Tower and it says it's back down the hill. We must have driven right past it. Ho-hum. Lost again, not uncommon. I could be wrong, but I think that's it. I drove right past it. So that's quite an impressive start today. Our first random stop is Scottie Tower, which is quite impressive, and there's a sign over here that's got some information that I will now impart without hopefully getting boring or sounding like I know what I'm talking about. It's quite an impressive tower though. We like that one quite a lot. So this tower dates back to 1460 and there were plans to renovate it and restore it, but that's never happened, so it's in the care of the local council, but by care I think it just means that not a great deal of care is applied. It's just being kept from falling down more or less, but very nice. Let's have a wee drone look at it from above. They really don't want you getting in here, for obvious reasons. So that's not a bad wee start to the day. I wonder how Bex is getting on at her running. So me and DeNiro are off to go and find something else to look at. Heading back down the hill from Scottie Tower, I think that's an old graveyard just over there. I could be wrong, let's go for a wee look. We are up at what I thought might have been a graveyard. Wait till you guys see this, if you like old graveyards. If you don't, you might want to skip this bit. This is a bit more than a graveyard. This is like an oldie worldie necropolis like you get in the big cities. This is, we're still in Alva, and this is what we've come to look at, which we saw from down there and are quite glad that we stopped for a wee look. It looks like this is the oldest part of the cemetery, and then down there is There's newer parts, so it might even still be in use, but let's see what we can find. The good thing about graveyards is it's always pretty easy to find dating evidence of how old it is, because you just look at a tombstone that says died 1921, died 1916, so you know when this part of the graveyard was in use. Not a bad view for your final repose, is it? You look out over the rolling hills. It's really smart. I like this place. This is a very, very nice graveyard, and here's a very, very impressive gravestone. There's a few very impressive gravestones here actually. That one's quite nice, and that one down there is made out of polished granite. Is that polished granite? I have no idea, but it's quite nice. And that one over there has unfortunately lost its head. And I've come down here and thought this is all quite interesting. There's Lilius Sorley. Hello Lilius. And then up there beside that rather impressive looking building there, there's more, so we'll go up there for a wee look as well. This is going to be a very graveyard heavy part of this episode. We do hope you're enjoying it. That's not bad at all, is it? With the sunlight making it look even prettier. Let's go and see what this thing up here is, if we can find out. Sign on the gate that says this area of the cemetery is closed and access is restricted to council staff only, but there's the gate is open and I didn't see the sign. Honest. Commonwealth War Graves and a sign that says something about this part of the cemetery being closed. I'm going to ignore that. Oh, there's a sign. Oh, as well as the Tower Trail, there's a historic Kirkyards Trail. This could turn out to be quite a big adventure. In amongst all of the old gravestones up on this top part of the cemetery, which I'm guessing is the oldest part, is this quite new memorial to a guy called Robert Erskine, who I've never heard of, unsurprisingly, but he was a Fellow of the Royal Society of London and Chief Imperial Physician and Privy Councillor to Tsar Peter the Great of Russia, so quite a big deal in Russia at least. A lot of the stuff that's been destroyed or is no longer here is actually quite recent, because this church was built in 1632 and used as a place of worship until 1980, and it was destroyed by fire in 1984. That's fairly recent, isn't it? But up here, oh, this is going to be cool. There's some of the really cool, like lots of iconography type gravestones that we're going to go and have a wee look at. Oh, you know we like stuff like this. I'm sorry, we've not done a proper sort of heavy duty graveyard episode for a while, so we'll make up for that today. There's 1687 with the hourglass. So that's quite a nice one, isn't it? That's from 1760, ID and EA, Memento Mori, and it's got the skull and crossbones and the hourglass to tell you time is running out. Not sure about the 4 with the X and the M. That's another thing we're going to have to go and look up. And over here there's more really, really old ones too, like this one here's quite nice. Hang on. Doopy doopy doo. From 180J, that might be a 1, 1801, WA and MP. The saints of God from death set free, with joy shall mount on high the something blah blah blah. You can read it yourself. Oh, and that one as well, I didn't even notice that. Oh look, now that's interesting. There's a skull and crossbones, obviously, ID and AG 1708, but what's that thing down there? Looks like cricket stumps. This is a properly cool wee cemetery. I'm loving it. Bex would love it too, but she is probably running round in circles at this moment in time. Yeah, so here's the Anderson family corner. David Anderson and James Anderson, and then some Morrisons, and oh, that's interesting. That is a stone gravestone. Well, that's why they called it a gravestone, obviously, Ian. But it's got a metal, a cast iron surround around it. That's quite unusual. Don't see many of those about. There's a really ornate bit of script from 1790, but we're heading across here to have a look in this little building that we saw from down below. No idea what it is. Hopefully it'll tell us on the front. Oh, and there's a First World War, or just after the First World War, Commonwealth War grave. Hello, Mr. Crawford. Sapper Crawford. Unsurprisingly, you can't get into this, but an Alva House plaque thing there, and if you look inside, which you guys can do and I can't, you can tell me what you can see. I'm thinking there's oh yeah, it's like a crypt thing. There's is that a little bust on the wall over there, and some plaques there, and a big memorial thing over there. It's a pity you can't get inside. That's 1773 with the skull and crossbones and the hourglass for WM and C McC. And this is an old tabletop gravestone that's been laid on the ground, obviously. But it's got, what's it got on it? It's got a little winged figure over there and a skull at that end and something at this end. I'm not quite sure what that is. It looks like a paw for something with far too many toes. And then along this side there's the crossbones and Oh, I do like trying to figure out what these things are. That looks like it might be some sort of agricultural thing, like a plough maybe. Let's have a, oh look, oh wow, Now, it said on the entrance sort of plaque thing about gravestones with the tools of people's trades on it. So this gentleman here, there's a skull and the crossbones and the hourglass and the heart, obviously, but there's also his spade and his hammer and his little shovel and a little chisel thing. Now that's cool. That man was obviously a blacksmith or something like that. That's the toolkit, the tools of his trade that he could take to the afterlife. Or actually maybe just the tools of his trade that people visiting would know what he used to do. I'm guessing this stone plinth here is the base of the church that burnt down in the 1980s, but over here set into the wall, that's the oldest thing we've seen so far. That's from 1631, that little bit of gravestone that's in there. What we do have here that I haven't really seen anywhere else very much is very wide and very low gravestones. There's a few of those dotted about. There's one here, you can see some more over there. There's one just down there. I'm not sure what the story with that is. Stability, possibly. And then beside him, there's 1729, another very old gravestone. Right, I think that's probably enough very old gravestones for now. We'll head back to the van, go off and find something else. This is being a really cool wee random adventure so far. Learning something new every day. That number 4 that we saw with the M and the X. That's pretty cool. That's early Christian origins, but became a merchant's mark and a symbol of integrity to show they were good people. Oh, I should have read this sign first before we went for a wander, because the one we saw with all the tools on it was actually, he was a gardener. He was the gardener to Sir John Erskine, who was a very rich man because he found silver on the Alva estate. And that thing down there we were looking at turns out to be a mausoleum for some rich man's wife. It was designed by Robert and James Adam, who are quite famous architects, so that must have cost a few quid. Alright, so we've come up. DeNiro, you're all tank, come here. Alright, so we've driven round the back way, but we could have just come straight up the hill there and not upset so many people with big posh houses, but that's the newer part of the cemetery there, sort of 1900s. And that's DeNiro who's going for a sniff, and that's the older part up there. This is such a nice wee graveyard, or big graveyard. Such a nice graveyard. DeNiro, what do you think? Are you having fun? DeNiro is modelling his winter coat because it's not awfully warm. Oh, and at the bottom of the hill there is this rather impressive standing stone, and this is St Serph's Well apparently, and you can read it all there written in Scottish dialect. This ancient standard stone, the rearmost one of a cromlech that stood long since not far from here, has been brought home after many a day and stands now guard over the well of St Serph. There you go, that's me translating it from Scottish into a Scottish accent. So this is the newer bit of the graveyard. Not the newest, I don't think. I think the newest bit's actually over there. But the graveyard obviously developed from the top, with the old ones down to the new ones here. That's quite nice. This has been a great place to stop, but now let's go and see what else we can find in this rather fascinating area. Right, so where are we going next? Well, I've got absolutely no idea, so let's find out together. Okay, the next emergency stop, and I'm not sure if this is part of the Tower Trail or not. That is Allenbeard Windmill. That looks quite interesting. Reading about it on Google, it says it was a windmill that powered the local coal mines, and then it became a ducat, and then it became a ruin, and then it got renovated, and then it's becoming a bit of a ruin again. So let's go for a wee look. Oh, but from here I can see that it's a windmill with quite a good view, because we get round this corner and we'll see Orra Hills again, which is, yeah, this is a really, really nice day. It's also getting a little bit warmer, which is a bonus. Yeah, not very interesting inside. There's not a sign up here to tell you what this thing actually is, so it's thanks to Google that we know. We like a sign so we can pretend we know what we're talking about while we're reading it, but in this case you'll have to take Google's word for it and my word for it. And the next random Google destination is Menstrual Castle. Again, no idea what that is. I'm guessing it's a castle in Menstrie, but apart from that, okay, I know it's a castle in Menstrie, but I don't know what's. Let's go for a look. Our next wee destination is a bit of a surprise, because you drive along this little residential road through this housing estate, and then you come across that. That is Menstrual Castle. It is literally like in the middle of a housing estate. I don't know if it's still people's houses. It's got a sign there that says Scottish Tourist Board self-catering, so you must be able to rent it as a wee house. Let's go and have a look at the sign, and then I can tell you a little bit about it. I could have read the sign first and pretended that I already knew it, but as you know, I don't do this. So the house was built in 1560 and it's a pretty turbulent history. It was going to get demolished in the 1950s because there was no money to restore it. But there's a famous Scottish actor called Menstrual Castle, you can tell I just read that, I've never heard of him, who put money together and started a fundraising campaign to get it renovated and restored. And now it's 4 flats and an exhibition space. So let's go through this into what would have been the old courtyard. And then I'll go back to that notice board and show you some of the pictures of what it looked like when it was actually more intact than it is now, because you walk through this 1500s tower onto a wee courtyard of obviously not 1500s houses. This is quite surprising and very smart, and that's an Airbnb or something. Menstrual Castle stay. Cool, this is so nice, that'd be a great place to live. So before all of the stuff around here was built, the castle stood on its own and looked like that. And there's the door that we've just been through, and there's what it looked like when it was slightly decrepit, and there's what it looked like when it was ruinous. And there's that famous man, Menstrual Castle, who died in 1980, who was the man behind getting it all renovated, and I've still never heard of him. Quite an impressive wee pen though to get in, that's quite smart. Penned was our word of the day the other day, so we can't use it twice, but that is a penned, a gateway, a little alleyway. We have visited some places that are sort of out of place with our surroundings, but if you look at all of that, and then you look at that, that's quite funny. And we are back in Alva to collect Bex and go and get a coffee. I would imagine she's quite keen on a coffee because it's a bit cold and they've been living in one of those gazebo things, so I'm guessing it was probably a bit drafty. We've been quite warm and we've been having an adventure, so me and DeNiro won. I'm guessing from the lack of running people that the running has finished, but also begs the question, where are all the running people? In particular, where's Bex? DeNiro does not mind where Bex is, he just wants to go and see if he can see a squirrel, because there was a squirrel just over there 5 minutes ago, and he looked at it and thought, oh, I've seen you guys before, but I've never been interested. Today I might decide to be a bit interested, which is why he is, as you can see, rather firmly attached. We do like these random adventures that we do, where we just go places and see what we find. I think we'll do another one again soon, because I've really enjoyed this, and this is an area that I would never ever have come to. I know there's history sort of over that way when you get to Stirling, sort of over there. There's the Stirling Castle and the Wallace Monument and stuff, but I had no idea there was so much dotted about here. I certainly had no idea there was a tower trail. We've seen a few of those today, we're going to come back and see a lot more. Right, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I've been talking about these hills behind me, saying, oh, look at the lovely hills. I still don't know what those hills are actually called, but don't tell anyone, because I'll find out and I'll let you know. I think it's the Ochil Hills, but I don't know. This is not a part of Scotland that I know particularly well. Yeah, probably noticed. Oh, DeNiro, look, people are emerging from that building over there. That must be all the running people returning to collect their stuff. So we're going to go and collect our Bex. I've never met Bexy's running friends. I'll be on strict instructions not to embarrass her. I'm not going to run across, give her a big cuddle and go, hi squidgy bum, how was your runny one, in a really loud voice. It'd be funny, but it would also be terminal. But I don't know which part of that would be most embarrassing, the big cuddle or calling her squidgy bum. She'd probably kill me for both. Oh, there she is. That's the Leaving Las Vegas Running Club. I wonder how she got on with her run today. That's not Bex eating all the biscuits, is it? Oh, thanks. DeNiro, should I be worried that they all knew who you were and none of them cared who I was? I think she must talk about you more than she talks about me. Bex is back, so how was your run?
It was good, thanks.
You have a good time?
I enjoyed it.
Did you win?
We didn't win, but the buffet was great.
Well, that's more important than winning, is having a good buffet.
Yeah. What about you? You had a good time?
We went to look at, where did we go first, folks? Oh, we went to look at a graveyard.
Okay.
And then another graveyard.
Okay.
And then a windmill.
A windmill?
And then a church. And, oh, we did a tower house first, didn't we? The first place was a tower house, sorry, I lied. And then a castle.
Wow, what a busy morning.
There's quite a lot packed into this area. We will be back. We've noticed that some of our older videos where we do a spot of beachcombing are getting more popular on this for some inexplicable reason. So we thought we'd do a little bit of showing you what we do with the pottery that we find. So this was stuff that we found in Kirkcaldy early last year, I think, and this is what we do with it. We make unique mosaic sea pottery hanging ornaments like this little birdie. We buy the wooden blanks and then we use glue to attach pottery that we found on on the beach and add it together, and it started to look a bit like this, which I'm showing you here in super fast motion. I wish it was that quick to actually make them in real life, but there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of trying to get it to look right. Anyway, that's them done, now to let them dry. And 24 hours later, the glue is well and truly dry. We've tried various glues to make these things, and we do find this Gorilla wood glue is the best. No, we're not sponsored, but if Gorilla are watching, send us some gin. And next up is the grouting, which is just obviously filling all the gaps between the little bits of pottery. We don't actually use grout, we actually use this stuff because it's easy to work with and doesn't make too much of a mess, because if I make a mess, I get shouted at. I do get the feeling we should be trying some sort of fancy slow motion time-lapse thing on this, but this is the bird, obviously. This is the filler, so I'm going to fill these holes by spattering the filler in and then wiping it off afterwards. There's two approaches to this. Bex is always very neat and tidy, and I tend to slap it in and then sort it out later. The other reason for not doing it all as a time lapse is it might have to stop because I'm waiting for a phone call from the tyre fitting place where Daisy is presently hiding in disgrace. We'll show you why in a second, but yeah, it's not really her fault, but we've got to blame somebody and it's not my fault, honest. That's how it's looking so far. The trick is, as we found out, it always looks okay as long as you cover all the wood. So obviously the pottery is not an exact match for the outline of the birdie, but as long as you cover all the wood, it looks like it's supposed to be. They're not actually, as you can see, very difficult to make at all. The difficult bit is finding the pottery, because it's all genuine Scottish sea pottery. So we have to find enough pottery to make birds. It can take us literally like a week of beachcombing to find enough pottery to make a couple of birds. If you've looked at our Kirkcaldy video, you'll recognise some of this pottery because it's mostly from Kirkcaldy, because that's the only place we get this really, really nice blue stuff. It's probably got a proper name, but Bex and I just call it Kirkcaldy blue for obvious reasons. And that is that. Once they're dry, we rub off some of the extra little bits of stuff that's there and sand down the edges, and then the drilling, which is always fun. If you want to find a drilling tutorial on YouTube, there are hundreds, but it's not actually that hard. The only secret is keep your drill bit cool, keep it wet, and you'll be fine. We don't actually like drill underwater when we're doing these because obviously they're not waterproof. It wouldn't be a very good idea. And what do you think of them then? Don't they look tweet? Right, so the next stage is to get these things drilled so you can actually hang them, because there's no point having a hanging ornament if you can't hang it. There's already a hole in the wood, so that is where we are going to put our hole through the pottery. Now the thing with these little drill bits, or burrs as they're called, is they will drill through pottery, but they'll really struggle to drill through wood. So you go from this side to the other side through that hole. And if it does chip anything off on this side, which it might, it'll be covered by the bit of string that goes through it to hang it up. So let's go and get drilling. Right, so what you do is, or what I do is, get the drill tip wet, dip it in there, and we're going to drill through there with a very small bit to start off with, because that gets your pilot hole. So this will be quite squeaky and noisy. And I've stopped recording sound here for the benefit of anybody that's not keen on the dentist, because the noise of this drill does set your teeth on edge. You do get used to it, but never completely. Okay, so you can trust me, that has gone all the way through, because there's a little dimple there. So now we fit a bigger drill bit to here and go back through from this side to the other side, and that's got to be bigger obviously to get the string through. And there we have one birdie with a hole in it. That's one done, one more to do. And there they are on a somewhat grotty desk, but they are now ready to be cleaned up, and then that's it done. Cleaning up is just a case of taking off some of the debris and some of the sort of dust and white stuff that's come from the filler. So there's little bits that need to be gone over, there's some holes that need to be filled, but apart from that, they are just about good to go. And with the crafting done, it was time to head up to Tayport, which is on the south bank of the River Tay, for a spot of scurrying and maybe hunt for a wee Scottie. We love these wee dudes. We really must get out and see them all before they all head off to their forever homes. We're doing a 10k run through the forest, but look what we found at registration. It's another Scottie for our Scottie trail, and this one has got a very stripy tongue. He's been licking something stripy. And our favourite thing about this one, I was going to say the seagull and do a sort of close-up of the seagull, but I've just noticed the fox. So either the seagull or the fox. Or of course, the wee Scottie dog. Right, we're in to register, and Bex doesn't know I found a Scottie dog that she doesn't know about.
Oh, Scottie dog.
Lots of people going to run about in the horrible, miserable weather. I think we might do as many as none of these. DeNiro is off to see the Scottie. He's a bit excited. There's so many people here wanting to say hello to him, and more people that he wants to say hello to that don't want to say hello to him. Say hello, say hello, say hello, say hello.
People want to say hello to him, I think, isn't that?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. It's making new friends everywhere.
This is nice here, isn't it?
All runners together. And if you want to take your lifestyle advice from a pebble, be happy. But alas, now I have to stop procrastinating. It's time to run. We call this before. We'll show you the after.
Afterwards.
And because we were so busy looking at Scotties and getting inspiration from pebbles, we almost missed the start. Oops. Still, at least the weather had improved markedly and we got to run along this nice beach where we both quite enjoyed it. This is a bit of the run we are quite enjoying because we'd only just started. That's why we're both still smiling. Halfway. Woohoo! This is during. When you got off the beach and into the forest, the race got, if anything, even prettier. But don't look at the prettiness, look down at where you're putting your feet or you'll end up, in this.
Yay!
Yay! This is the after little bit of film and we've just run 10k in just about an hour. Wee teeny bit over an hour, but we've got our medals and now we're going home.
With our banana.
With our banana. Yes, you run all that way and they give you a banana. I think I want a pint of Guinness. I don't like Guinness. Why did I say Guinness? I don't even like Guinness.
But you got a medal,
yeah,
and a banana, and a flapjack, and a nice buff.
Buff shot. This is Bex in the buff. Oops, I thought I knew a shortcut to get back to where Daisy's parked, so I went up this path. It's a bit of a dead end. Bex is not happy, but she should know better than to follow me. Right, but that's enough of that. Now, how about a wee update on the latest developments in the van? One problem that we've noticed with the van is in the winter it gets extremely cold. You never really noticed in Mabel because in Mabel you were always in bed. This has got sitting space and when you sit it's chilly, so we have bought this. Time for one of those really boring unboxing videos that pretentious people do, but we've got ourselves a diesel heater. So this is what I'm going to fit today, and I'll probably forget to film it while I'm doing it, and all you'll see is it actually done at the end. So there you go, a cheap diesel heater from eBay, but as you can see it is UKCA and CE marked, which means it should hopefully be safe. We've also added a carbon monoxide alarm because, don't entirely trust Chinese engineering. And it's a good job that we fitted the diesel heater because it gave us somewhere nice and warm to sit while we're waiting for the recovery truck to come and rescue Daisy. She got a puncture, and on these vans there's a known feature where you can't actually get the spare wheel off because the mechanism ceases solid. So that happened. We had to get towed away till I could get the angle grinder on the spare wheel to get it off the bottom of the van. Another day, another project. After the horrors of getting the spare wheel out from under the van, because that's the spare wheel and it should be under there, and the mechanism was all jammed and horrible. So I'm going to put the spare wheel in here, so it's always going to be dry and easily accessible. So a bit less storage space, but I don't think we're exactly short of storage space. So let's see how this goes. So the thought is, that's obviously DeNiro's bed, so in case of a big crash we don't want a spare wheel going to visit him. So these metal beams will be bolted through the bottom of the van and be secure and have plates underneath, etc. And then the spare wheel will be strapped to that. And about an hour later, that is that. This is all bolted in underneath the van, bolted through the van, so it's all solid. That's going to get tied to those with a ratchet strap, and then anything happens, the wheel's not going anywhere. That is the theory anyway. Depends how severe the thing that happens is, I suppose. And that's it for this week's episode of Scotland on a Shoestring. DeNiro enjoyed his explore, Bex enjoyed her banana, and I really enjoyed the running. Honest. So as always, please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see you soon for more. Bye!
Bye!